Well, good morning, everyone. Thomas Montgomery. It's a beautiful Monday morning. Today is February 10th, 2025. We get together with our distribution partners most weekday mornings at this time to talk about strategies, tips, techniques, share success stories, and support each of you. We have a couple different but related topics to go through today. I had sent out an invitation, a reminder to all of you over the weekend with the lead of move fast and break things. So we'll talk about that a little bit. There's been some news about the CFPB closing, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. So we're going to spend a few minutes talking about that. Of course, at any point you have any questions, comments, concerns, type those into the Q&A. And most of all, we want to go apply what we've learned. I've come to the conclusion, frankly, I stopped stressing myself. I know that there's two types of resellers, two types of all of you. There are those of you that take action that will help people and make money, and there are others who are spectators. And I'm not going to put the pressure on myself anymore to try to figure out how to motivate the spectators. Some people want to play the game. Some people want to watch the game being played, and that's fine. So if you've come to be a spectator, you're welcome to be one. But really, our focus, of course, is to work with the players, those individuals that have a philosophical commitment to helping others have a fundable business, helping others build their financial literacy, and helping others access capital. So we hope that you all take what we learn and the resources and tools we have to go get paid today. But if you are a spectator, that's fine. Sit back and enjoy the show. So introduction we'll start with here. As a Shelf Corp reseller, and so again, anytime you join us for a training, this is somewhat of a continuation of prior trainings. And so we have a library that you can go back and listen to past trainings, and I'll make sure you know where to access that on YouTube here before we end. But as a Shelf Corp reseller, you're in a very special position because you understand financial literacy. You understand that there's a formula for funding. You know that anyone can access at least 100,000 to start or grow a business. Could be much more, but at least 100,000. That's what we guarantee. Bernard and I were talking or texting, emailing over the weekend. I mean, what we offer, it's remarkable. We can take anyone off the street and get them at least 100,000. Now, if they want more, they need more, we can work with them to get more. But I think sometimes some of you are such big hitters that when you hear 100,000, you dismiss it. It's like, oh, 100,000 is not that big a deal. You know, to Charles and Claude and Eric and Maria, Michael, you know, a lot of you have $100,000 credit limit probably on your Amex in your wallet or your purse, but that's not the real world. The average person, you give them 100,000, it's a game changer. It's life changing. So we have the ability to legally and ethically help anyone have a fundable business and turn that fundable business into at least 100,000 of cash. That's a big deal, and that's legal and compliant. So with that, going back to the point I made earlier, some of you are going to be players just because you're wired to take action, and some of you are going to be spectators. But for those of you that are players, what I would encourage is follow what we've learned from Elon Musk and other successful entrepreneurs. We need to move fast, right? We need to go take action. We need to stop waiting, stop thinking. It's not that difficult. Either take the client agreement that we sent you and edit it, or use our reseller marketing package and we'll edit it for you. And let's go enroll some clients and start making money. I mean, it just stop overthinking it. Otherwise, just go grab a seat in the spectator section. So then some of you are doing great. Take Joseph, for example, who ironically is not on this morning. He bought the reseller marketing package, and I think he had 4 clients enroll yesterday, if I recall, 4 contracts. So there's an example of a reseller who came in, kind of got off to a little bit of a slow start, but literally yesterday on Sunday did 4 deals. Now, on the low end, Joseph's going to make, I don't know, what do you say, 100,000 total off those four deals, depending upon how much capital raise. Could be much more than that. So, if you're not enrolling a client a day, because again, if you're a spectator, dismiss all of this. This doesn't apply to you. Grab some popcorn, a Diet Coke, and sit back. But if you're a player and you're going to be a reseller, we really need to have a focus of helping a client a day. And a client a day gets you 5,000 up front per day, plus a lot more on the back end off the capital raise. So I know many of you had a great weekend. I saw the production come through, but let's look at today. Today's Monday, February 10th, 2025. We have 729 of you on this morning. That may be a new record for one of our regular Zooms. What's keeping every one of you, 729 of you, from enrolling one client today? What help, what assistance do you need to be able to enroll one client today? And we need to stop with the argument, well, I don't understand everything. Well, that's why we get together most weekday mornings. If there's something you don't understand, type it into the Q&A so we can resolve it. But true entrepreneurs, they move fast. And we can fix things if they don't go correctly, but we need to go move fast, make money, enroll clients. It's okay for there to be bumps in the road. We don't want to have bumps in the road. We're always going to comply with the contracts. Clients are never going to get scammed or burnt. But it's okay if everything doesn't go perfectly just because you don't understand everything. We need to have the mindset, the spirit of an entrepreneur, which is to move fast, go enroll some clients, and start making some money. So if you're not making 5,000 today, Monday, February 10th, which means enrolling one client, there must be a problem. And it could either be you don't have leads. And we're going to talk about an innovative approach at generating leads in just a moment. So it could be you don't have leads, because any sales organization, you need leads to have conversions to make money. So if you need leads, we've talked about different ways. We're going to talk about a unique way here in just a moment. Or we've talked about, or we've talked over the past couple weeks about stop selling. If you're not good at it, and I've talked to many of you, and some of you just, you're not wired to do sales. It's okay. Maybe in your opinion, you're above it. Maybe in your opinion, you're below it. I don't know. But then let's go build a sales team. Let's go build a sales team so you can earn passive income. And we've had some great trainings on that. So one option is, if you need leads, we can go create your own leads. So this is a new topic here we're going to get into. It's a little bit of a different approach. It's not earth shattering, but maybe it's different than what you've considered. Because many of you are thinking, well, I've got to go find that small business owner that's ready right now to get money to start or grow a business. And that is a sweet spot, right? Someone that already has decided to start or already owns a business and they're actively looking for funding. Can't beat that. But there is a broader approach, which is here, which is create your own leads. And what do I mean by that? So again, I need you to step out of your shoes. Don't look at things through your eyeglasses for a moment, because so many of you are so financially successful that I think you're disconnected from the average American. There's a lot of people out there that are just getting by, just living paycheck to paycheck, and sometimes the paycheck doesn't even make it to the next paycheck. That's who I would like you to find. Find someone today that's just getting by. Now, this may not be anyone that you know in your inner circle. You know, when Michael Newton's over at the country club, it's not going to be the guy next to him at the lunch buffet. But if you broaden your horizon, you're going to be able to find someone that's just getting by. They're not living under a bridge, but they're not driving the Ferrari or the Bentley like Jordan is. They're someone that's just getting by. And let's offer them a path for a better future. And ask them, hey, I know things are tight right now, but what if I could get you an extra 100,000 to start or grow a business, what would you do with 100,000? And start that discussion. So essentially, we're moving the model not just from current business owners, but to potential business owners. There's a lot of these people. And again, I know it may not be the people that you sit with at the golf course after you play a round of 18 holes, but there are a lot of people out there that it's just getting by. Toily, think about, if you're normally going to Whole Foods for or HEB for your groceries, step down and go to Aldi's. Not everyone is spending $500 on their grocery cart getting groceries today. There's some people that's paying attention to the price tags. They used to be using coupons when coupon was a thing. Let's go find someone that's just getting by and let's offer them a path for a better future. Hey, did you know that there is a grant that can get you a Shelf Corporation whereby we can provide you a fundable business that will guarantee? And again, you've got to stop in my opinion, stop looking at it from your perspective, because I know many of you take Belzonia probably has a line of credit for 100,000, so he doesn't sit there thinking about what he could do with 100,000. He has it. But the average person isn't like Ainsley. The average person isn't like Ernest Harris. The average person isn't sitting on access to capital, and if you can provide them a method to get it, and the best way to get larger amounts of money is through business funding, because personal loans aren't going to get you there in most cases. So literally what we can do is stop just looking for the current business owner that's wanting funding, but we can literally create our own leads by identifying someone that's just getting by, that's looking for a break. Here's an example, and it's a true example. So on Saturday, 2 days ago, we did a workshop. And our workshop was with a group of nurses. Now, these are licensed nurses. I'm not talking about medical assistants or nurses' aides. I'm talking about licensed nurses, RNs, BSNs. So what we did is we had a workshop for them essentially about this topic, because it's interesting. Even those people that are making 60,000, 70,000, 80,000 a year, there's a lot of them that are still living paycheck to paycheck. So I was talking to one of the nurses Saturday evening at the workshop, and I said, "Okay, so you're barely getting by. You have a good income, but you're still barely getting by because things are so expensive. What are you considering doing to resolve that?" And she said, "Well, I'm thinking about picking up an extra shift doing hospice nursing." I said, "Oh, okay, well that's admirable. How much would that pay?" And she said, $50 an hour. That's good income. But how many hours and of course sleepless nights would you have to work making $50 an hour to get 100,000? I mean, you'd never get there working. So literally what you and I can do is help these people that are barely getting by, even if they're high income, high educated, help them have a Shelf Corp, and now they can pursue an entrepreneurial pursuit in addition to what they're currently doing or instead of. Any questions that any of you have on creating your own leads? Carlos is asking, where do you find these people? And I realize, Carlos, you've got to get out of the country club, Carlos. You got to get away from your current circle, which are high income, and just go where the common people are. Go visit with average people, because this is the issue that the average person is facing. Inflation is hitting, these tariffs are about to hit, things are becoming more expensive. What a great opportunity for you to provide them a better path through entrepreneurship. All right, so if you have any questions on that, I think it's a rather simple concept, but it's just simply stating you don't have to only limit yourself to current business owners. You can literally create demand for Shelf Corps by communicating with people that would like 100,000 and they can't get there on their current path. That's the point. All right, so the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau discussion, that's where we're at now, and the website behind. So there was a decision recently by the federal government to stop funding the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. You may not think this affects you, but if you are active in our industry, then it's relevant. So the CFPB was developed to protect consumers from a number of things. I'll move my notes over here so you can see. We'll make it a little bit skinnier. Maybe, maybe. There we go. So things like credit card late fees, of course, that's not what you and I do. Overdraft penalties, where people would have a bank account and they would go below zero, and then the bank would charge them $25 or $35. They dig a deeper hole. That's again not what we do. But unfair lending practices. Now, are you and I lenders? So here's a quiz question. Let me pull the notes back up. Are you and I lenders? Do you and I loan money? Yes or no? Jordan says, no, no, no. We're what's called technical advisors, and that's a specific industry category. We help people qualify for funding by having a fundable shelf corp. So we don't set interest rates. So this part never affected us. But what I can tell you is that a lot of people, when they go out and they try to borrow money, if they're not very qualified, they get hit with some high interest rates. And the problem is that makes it, the cost of capital a lot more expensive. So now that the government has decided, and I'm not political, we're not taking a political stance, to stop funding the CFPB, there's going to be probably more abuse in the marketplace of companies trying to take advantage of consumers. What a great time, again, for you and I to go out and protect them from that. We can be their advocate. So instead of going and getting these high interest credit cards or high interest consumer loans, we can help them form a shelf corp. And with the shelf corp, we can get low interest loans. And those loans typically have a longer repayment term. A normal repayment term for a business loan that's 100,000 or more is 10 years. Now they can pay it off early with no prepayment penalty, but that lowers the cost. So the fact that the government is dismissing some of these consumer protection divisions gives you and I even greater responsibility to go out and help people find legitimate ways to get funding. And they probably wouldn't have been able to get 100,000 through personal loans anyway, not for the average person, but getting 100,000 minimum is what you and I can guarantee them through business funding. Do any of you have any questions or concerns about how the CFPB's closure will affect us? All right, Jim's got a question. So the nice thing, Jim, and everyone, about what you and I do, what we do together, and you as a reseller specifically, is that everything we do is in writing. And so that's the greatest protection for consumers, is that they're not getting tricked into anything. They're not getting baited and switched. They're getting exactly what's promised. So that's why our model is compliant. That's why we don't have legal issues, is because we do what we say that we'll do, and we put that in writing. Companies that operate off of verbal agreements have a much higher likelihood of disagreements with clients because we always have written agreements. So when each of you signed up to be a reseller, which cost you how much? Zero. Cost you nothing to be a reseller. And I'll go ahead and show you if you need to become a reseller. That's right here. So if you want to become a reseller, it doesn't cost anything. You email us, you request it. We send you the reseller packet, which includes a client agreement. You take that client agreement, you remove our information, put yours on it, because that's what makes you a reseller. You can change the pricing the way that you want, so you control your own profit margin. And then you get clients under contract. If you're not specifically good or comfortable with editing contracts and getting them set up for e-signatures, then you can use what we call our reseller marketing program. Madison can help you with that. The reseller marketing program is huge, and that's how Joseph sold 4 deals yesterday. And again, it's hard for me, I think, to connect with some of you because I go to Jocelyn, right? And I say, Jocelyn, Joseph made over 100,000 yesterday. And Jocelyn's like, oh, well, but for the average person to earn $100,000 in one day, most people don't accomplish that in a year. So the reseller marketing program allows us to set up the landing page for you, the drip campaign, the e-signature. So if you want us to provide all those tools and resources, get with Madison and we can help you do that. If you don't want us to help you do that, that's fine. You're more than capable to do it on your own. But ultimately, we need to be active. We need to be enrolling clients, and you'll make whatever you want up front, but most of you are making 5,000 up front, and then most of you are making you're all making 5 points of the client's capital raise, which with an average capital raise of a million, 5% of a million is 50,000. So that puts you right at 55,000 per deal. Per deal. Now, some clients may want more, some may want less. So, who has questions, comments, concerns? We've got the resources here at the bottom of the page. If you need QuickCash, 509 Pacific, want to become a reseller, as we mentioned, need to speak to someone, call Madison. And then I did mention this earlier. We put our past trainings up on YouTube. No passwords, no hoops to jump through, so you can go back and view past trainings to get more perspective. But all right, so Harold's talking about finance. His questions about financing of Shelf Corp. So that's great. So let's go back to the process and we'll actually put it on here so we're all clear. So the process. So step one is we need to get client under contract. So when you become a reseller, we send you the editable agreement, you edit it, you put it in Adobe or DocuSign, whatever e-signature software, and the client signs it. If you want to use the reseller marketing program, get with Madison and we'll take care of all that for you and get it set up so you can start producing higher numbers like Joseph's 4 deals yesterday. But regardless, it starts with getting the client under the Shelf Corp contract, which you should have. We send it to you automatically when you ask for one, no cost. So then what happens? And this gets to Harold's question. So then we'll send client and copy you the finance app. So it's a simple one-page finance app, no docs required on the app, no hard inquiries. And so it's going to send the prospect, or not the prospect, the client, and copy you the app, and they need to fill out that app. Madison will call them and say, hey, Joe, or hey, Susie, did you receive the app? You have any questions? You need to complete it. If Madison doesn't reach them, she'll text them. So we're emailing it to them. We're calling them. Madison's calling them, and we're texting them. But of course, you can also motivate them because we need them to move forward. They've bought the Shelf Corp here, but they've not paid for it. We're trying to get financing. Now, if they just want to pay out of pocket for it, they can. But the part of the pitch that's allowed us to grow so quickly is, hey, there's no upfront cost. No upfront cost. So then what happens is then client receives funding offers. The average client's going to receive a bunch of different offers, often multiple offers from different lenders for different amounts, different repayment terms, and then they can pick what they want. Madison will reach out to them and help them through this process. Not really your job. You don't really have access to the database to give them as much specific information. But what I would do if I were you is if you had a client that signed a contract, make sure that they fill out the finance app, which you'll know that they've received because you're going to be copied on it, and then encourage them to work with Madison on accepting one or more of the offers. Now, as far as the offers, they want to accept at least enough to pay you for the Shelf Corp. Because as a reseller, because you're a reseller, here's the word reseller, you're picking the price. We're facilitating the financing so they can pay you, so they can pay you for the Shelf Corp. Now, they may want to accept more than just enough for the Shelf Corp so they have some additional working capital in their pocket. Great. So it's key, it's crucial that you understand these initial 3 steps. Now, Harold's question was a bit different. Harold asked what happens if they don't get any funding offers. And that can happen. Don't see it too often, but it could happen. Because to no surprise, this finance app is going in for a soft inquiry, not a hard inquiry, no impact to their credit. So these 40 different lenders are all competing to provide funding to your clients so they can buy a Shelf Corp. So it's like this perfect environment. But if someone has not managed their credit, not managed their money, it's possible that they don't get a funding offer. Don't see it too often, but it can happen. So what do we do then? So let's look at the different scenarios. So scenario 1 is they get offer or offers, accept, and pay you. So that's this ideal scenario, right? So now they paid for the shelf. Now we can deliver the shelf in 7 days, then we can go after business funding. That's what we hope to happen. But Harold's question is, well, what if not? Well, if they don't, then we can pull in a co-signer. So that's an option if they don't get an approval. What's another option? They could pay out of pocket. So in other words, if they don't want to finance it, they don't want to use a co-signer, just like with anything in life, you don't have to go finance the car. You could go pay for it. But of course, not everyone can afford that. And so then we have a safety net, which I think is really what Harold's question was about. They can use QuickCash. And we've had separate trainings on that. We made a little bit of a reference, and you can see more information on our nonprofit site. But QuickCash has a guarantee approval. QuickCash comes in 10,000 increments, and so they can use QuickCash to pay for the Shelf Corp if needed. But any questions on Harold or others on those 4 scenarios? People will often ask us, well, what's the minimum credit score to get approved? It's not that simple. And if you ask that question, then it shows that we need to work together to build your financial literacy. So with lenders, I don't think that there's any lender in the world that truly just decides approved or not approved off of a credit score. They may say that to make it sound simple, to make simple people stop asking questions, but that's usually not the case. Lenders are going to have an algorithm where they're looking at the credit profile, and the score is an element, but they're also going to look at other elements of the profile of the application, have proprietary algorithms, and make a decision. So, do we see people get approved in the 500s? Yes. Does that mean that everyone in the 500s will get approved? No, we're not the lender. We already covered that. They have their own underwriting. But we see that most people can get approved, but if they've not managed their finances, it doesn't mean that you failed them or I failed them. It means they've not taken care of business. Then we can move on to one of 3 other options. They can either bring in a co-signer, which works really well. They can pay out of pocket, which you can't beat, or we can use QuickCash. All right, Mambu's asking about the cosigner. So the cosigner process is essentially duplicating what we just discussed. So let's say you get a client under contract, we send them the app, and let's say that they don't get an offer. Then we will send them an email, and Madison will reach out to them and say, hey, you didn't get any offers, but we've got some other options. And she'll mention all of these different options. So she'll give them all choices. I guess it'd be these 3 choices if they didn't get any offers. And if they say, oh, yeah, I'll use a cosigner, I got a boyfriend or girlfriend or a mistress or business partner, someone that's going to be a cosigner, then it's essentially the same app. So the app then goes to the cosigner to complete. So it's not a modified app. And I know that can be confusing, but it's actually even simpler. They'll get we'll send the cosigner the same exact app. So it'll be the same process for the cosigner. Good question. All right, let's see. Mai has a question. Mai says, let's say they have great credit. Will they need to provide paycheck stubs or financials, or are these loans all no doc? That's a good question. So what I've told you is true. We have a consortium of about 40 different lenders that are helping provide funding for the Shelf Corps. Each have their own underwriting criteria, and I've seen it vary. So the answer to your question is the question is what will be necessary for final approval? And the answer is it depends. And I know you don't like that, but it's the truth. I've seen the same lender ask for substantiation documentation from one person and not from the next. So I don't know what to say. We'll just have to get an application. There's no hard inquiry, see what offers they get. Most people will get offers. You'll know that they've received offers. Madison will work with them to accept. You want to encourage them to accept. They accept and you get paid. That's a beautiful thing. If they don't get any cash offers, then we can always offer them any of these three options. Madison will facilitate that, but you can reinforce it. And that would be to either pull in a cosigner, pay out of pocket, or use QuickCash. And in the time we have today, and we're already out of time, I know we've not gone through QuickCash adequately, but if you want to learn more about QuickCash or the Shelf Corp proposition or anything else, you can go back to our past trainings. So with that being said, we ran a bit long, so let's just wrap it up. So we get together with our resellers most weekday mornings at 8 o'clock Central. Ultimately, we're encouraging you to take action. You've got to make a decision. Are you an active participant or a spectator? People that make money do things. Broke people usually are spectators. So just decide whatever seat on the bus you want to be in. We get together daily to answer your questions. You can also reach out to Madison. If you're not a reseller, you're welcome to become one. Doesn't cost you anything. And we'll be back tomorrow morning. Thanks, everyone. Have a great day. Bye-bye.